There is a solution for that is sponsored by VARC Solutions. VARC Solutions helps small businesses succeed by delivering expert QuickBooks bookkeeping, consulting, quick-based development, and integrated solutions. If you own a small to medium-sized business that uses QuickBooks or QuickBase, the experts at VARC Solutions can help. In business since 1999, with people who care and the knowledge and experience to solve your toughest problems. Visit varcsolutions.com for all your QuickBooks needs. Welcome back to another edition of There's a Solution for That, where we help small businesses succeed by discussing challenging business problems and best-in-class solutions. All right, welcome everybody to another edition of There's a Solution for That. My name is Brad White. I'm here with our guest, Danielle Price today, and we are going to be talking about the problem with paper timesheets, otherwise known as the ROI of time. And we've got a great topic for you today. And of course, Danielle and I have actually known each other for quite a while with some of her history and background with Intuit. So Danielle, go ahead and just kind of introduce yourself and a little bit about your background.
Okay, Brad, thank you so much for having me on There's a Solution for That. I love it. So yeah, my name is Danielle Price. I've been in the time tracking space for about 25 years. I'm always surprised that the wireless carriers haven't really amplified this as much as they should, because the time tracking applications run on their devices, and that's where I got my start. So I was 8 years at Sprint Nextel, which is now T-Mobile. Then I went to work for a company called Zora, which means time in Greek. They ended up getting acquired by Click Software. But while there, I had sold the first, I believe nobody's refuted this yet, but I believe I sold the first cell phone as a time clock with an ADP rep and a Sprint rep. And we met in the lobby of a company. It's a great story. We can get into it because they definitely realized the ROI of time, but larger company, about 400 employees there. And then went to work for ADP directly for about 18 months and lined up other time tracking solutions, long history with how time rolled out on the wireless carriers and how we have the partners we have today. But then was there for about 18 months and then ran a consultancy for ADP for 5 years. Then I went to work for the one that I thought was the best in breed, which was T-Sheets. Mm-hmm. And the rest, as you know, is history. We were acquired by Intuit. And I left Intuit about exactly a year ago today, crazily enough, and had built this company, Emplomint, in an incubator with Intuit to provide implementation as a service for QuickBooks Time and all the integrations we need. And so we're a year in for our year anniversary.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And we'll talk about a lot of those different things that you brought up. So yeah, and we'll talk about time tracking, obviously. T-Sheets, we're a big fan. I mean, we've been using it. We've been a reseller of T-Sheets. We've done the whole, QuickBooks Time ADP thing, full circle back into QuickBooks. I mean, that's something that a lot of clients need. So, and then of course, Intuit rebranded it now as QuickBooks Time. But it's so funny because it's like tsheets.intuit.com. It's like you can't get rid of.
I actually think it's been rebranded again. Sorry to interrupt you. I think it's now QuickBooks Workforce.
Yeah,
you have to call it Workforce, right? As part of the payroll and time bundles. So
it's one of those things. Wake up every 6 months and just see if it's changed. So fantastic. So obviously you've been in that time tracking world for a long time, and just you kind of said it, but I'm going to say it differently. You've had an opportunity to work with a lot of different companies that were implementing time tracking systems, not just with QuickBooks Time, but other companies that made time tracking solutions. But at the end of the day, it's like it's getting it set up and integrated and working for a company, which is the hard part.
Yeah, there's about 250 ChatGPT this, so if you want to correct me, but there were about 500 time players, and now there's about 250. So there's been a lot of consolidation. Either went out of business because it's a tough market. But this reminds me back in the days when I started working for Nextel, and it was a cell phone, and Verizon came in and bought up all these little mom and pop shops. Nextel bought out all these mom and pop two-way radio shops. And then you saw the product launch and then the space grow to what it is today. And I'm really hoping we see something like that in time, because there were 500 companies. Now it's 250. It tells you there's a there.
Yeah.
But these companies are, because there's not a space for it, and companies are paying for accounting and payroll, and they really don't realize they need a budget for time, but it's going to be an incredible ROI. They just don't make space for it in their budget. So hopefully after listening to our podcast today, they will.
Yeah, well, it's a hard thing because I mean, obviously, there's no one way of doing business, and they're not all. I mean, they're all very very different, right? You've got
Mm-hmm.
some folks that are just they're out in their truck driving around the country, doing stuff, needing to track time, and you got others that it's an office environment. Others where you've got warehouses where there's no internet.
Mm-hmm.
You've got industrial type of scenarios where it's historically all paper. I mean, so those are, I mean, it's a challenging thing to go from anything to something different when you've got lots of people involved. So let's talk about the ROI of time. I mean, that's one of the things we wanted to talk about. So like when you say ROI of time, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, the return on investment that you're going to get by implementing a solution like this. So the the first time I ever read about an ROI of time was the American Payroll Association produced a study, and this was back 20 years ago when we were first selling that solution. And they said if you just, and this was relevant to not the mobile workforce, but clocks that mounted on a wall. And they
Mm-hmm.
said if you just automate that, where you buy one of these clocks from a company producing clock, where it sends the punch to a database, that alone is going to save you 3% on your payroll, because
Mm-hmm.
manual calculations and manual collection of time is such an arduous task, and it's very prone to errors. So that 3% error rate has lasted 20 years. In fact, into its verified marketing claims, I hope they're still these same claims, but they are that a company can save 4% on payroll. And so let's break this down. I did a ROI for a customer recently, one of your referrals that we
Mm-hmm.
sold. Thank you very much. I won't mention the company name, but they had 80 employees. And if we use the ROI of 4% payroll savings, they're going to save about $256,000 on their payroll.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that's with leakage, overtime, theft, slip of the finger, accidentally overpaid someone. They're never going to tell you that they got paid for 50 instead of 40 hours.
Right.
Reimbursements for mileage, reimbursements for per diem, all the things that you can collect and calculate when you automate this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what factors into that ROI for payroll. And, payroll's the largest operating expense for
It
most
is.
businesses.
Absolutely. No question about
Yeah. So if it's
it.
75% of your OpEx are spent on payroll, if you can save 4% on that, it's very
Yeah.
exciting.
So
So
it's
the
not as
third, yeah,
so it's not as much about the payroll service, and obviously, I mean, we have a number of different payroll services that we use and recommend, but it's not the payroll service cost. It's just the wages that are based on in many cases
correct.
the time tracking data, and if the time tracking data is wrong, or you got all those things like buddy punching, and you've got maybe people who aren't watching and verifying the time. That's really what you're talking about in terms of the cost side being able to be reduced.
Right. And you actually mentioned a couple of things. You talked about a mobile workforce, maybe people being in areas where there wasn't cellular coverage. We call that offline. You
Mm-hmm.
talked about people that might be coming into the office and clocking in, or working on, in the delivery trucks, the merchandising. And that's one of the beauties of QuickBooks Time, is it does have solutions for all of those workforces. I like to call them static and mobile.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
lot of the companies out there focus strictly on mobile, but QuickBooks Time has solutions for static and mobile. So now you can roll out one software solution.
Yeah.
We're going to teach you how to use it effectively. And then you're covering off all your employees, because employee adoption is key. If your
Oh
employees don't
man.
adopt it, even though they're the ones that complain about, some of them have to FedEx those timesheets in from the field, fax them in, fill in an Excel spreadsheet, drop them off crumpled. They have coffee stains on them, chicken scratches you can't read.
Oh yeah.
I hear 40% of companies are still using paper today. So it's astonishing to me.
Yeah, and it's not as surprising. I mean, of course, we're in the business, so you and I both know this, right? But it's not as surprising to me, but it is still surprising that there are still people that are using paper time cards, because when they start describing how they're doing it, right?
Mhm.
Just the amount of duplication of effort is mind blowing. Yeah, I'm filling it out, and then I'm taking photos of it, and then I'm emailing it, and then somebody's
Mhm.
getting it, and they're putting it in a spreadsheet, and they're summing it up, and then they're putting it in their payroll. I mean, it's like it just goes on and on and on. Um, how much time, I mean, truly is wasted. It is truly
Yeah.
wasted time,
Yeah.
when obviously there's a better way. Um, but it's like, how do you get past, this is just kind of an aside here. How do you get past that situation where you do have maybe less technology savvy users or
Mhm.
employees, where you're trying to introduce a technology solution like a time tracking solution? How do you get past that?
Well, that's exactly where Implement comes in. We did a study of 125 customers and we implemented them and we charged a fee for it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, we realized that we had 125 customers, 124 paid that fee, which was foreign to them. They weren't used to paying a fee.
Mm-hmm.
They're already paying for payroll, depending on who they're getting it from. Time would be bundled in, as you know, with QuickBooks Online. Some of our payroll features offer it for free, which is amazing. So now you're just paying for implementation. But imagine it's mostly women of HR. So I'm just going to say women of HR having to do payroll and learn a new software as well from
Mm-hmm.
reading guides. And we're talking about setting up complex hourly rates, per diem expense reporting forms, maybe different groups where the delivery folks are different from what you want to ask your merchandiser folks. Your delivery folks want to collect a signature. Your merchandiser folks want to take a picture. Both of them need their their GPS location, and they're all turning in paper timesheets. So the workforces are very different, and to get them all on board and the admins to even understand how to set up the complexities, that's where Implement comes in. I'm not trying to give a boost to Implement, but that's exactly what we do. Is we will spend, so 125 customers, I'll go back to our study, 124 paid on time, and we never were asked for a refund.
Mm.
I think that's astonishing. The one that didn't pay asked if they could pay after implementation. They didn't attend their calls. So there was a waste of our time and theirs,
Right.
and it was an unsuccessful full launch. And so what we found is if we have them pay an implementation up front, we do it based on the ROI. And we've only talked about one part of the ROI. There's also the revenue they're going to generate, and there's the hours that are saved. We just talked about the payroll reduction. But if
Yeah.
you implement them properly, not only with admin, but also their workforce. And we provide
Mm-hmm.
custom PDFs to train the employees. We provide a hotline that the employees can call, taking the burden off the admins.
Yeah.
And the admins, again, we found that they need four things in a success coach. They need enthusiasm. They need
Mm-hmm.
someone with empathy. They need
Right.
someone with knowledge, and they need someone dependable. And
Yeah.
that's who our success coaches are. And of course, they came from that T-Sheets,
Yeah.
wonderful group.
And of course, I would add patience to that, because again, it's like, not every business person out there, not every HR employee is super super fast when it comes to computers and technology. There's still a lot of people out there that know the basics, but they struggle with just being fast, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine that's another just big big challenge, is just being patient to say, look, I know this is new, I know it's different. I know you maybe don't get all these different things immediately, but look, we're going to take the time to walk through this, and make sure that you understand it, make sure that you're comfortable, make sure that you're not, make sure that you're self-sufficient, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, people want to be self-sufficient. They want to do it on their own, but even if they're not ready to do it on their own right out of the gate. So I really love what you guys do in taking that long-term approach to say,
Mhm.
we're not just installing a software program and saying, click, 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 it's configured. Now go, now enjoy. Hopefully you're successful. Being able to walk people through it, handhold them on the process.
Mhm.
Um,
And think about
that's
it.
the
They
key to
paid
making
for
it
that.
successful.
they paid for that patient. That
Hmm.
when you are billing for implementation, so let's talk QuickBooks. You have an amazing product, and then you have an 800 number, but that in between is the customer experience. It's what
Hmm.
T-Sheets did so well. Those 5-star reviews is really took care of their customers.
Right.
It's part of the sales process. It truly should be part of the sales process, and that's
Mhm.
why they're a fee for, because the customer's not going to get any value out of it if they don't. So the customer's paying for that patient. So when they have their scheduled call with Julie, or they call in and they have an issue, they don't feel bad, and they're not just trying to make that transactional and just fix this one fee because I got to go and you got to go and you help me with this, and the person transfers them again and again, or even disconnects them because they are intimidated. They don't understand. There's not a lot of this intel out there anymore. We're
Yeah.
hoping to grow really fast so that
Yeah.
we can grab up all those experts that still do exist, but the customer's paying for the patients. And so they learn at their own pace, they stay engaged, they make all their calls, they enjoy their calls.
Right.
Our lead success coach, Julie, has several different taglines, but she tells the customers, we hear them cry when we are doing our discovery call, and we hear them cry tears of joy when we are
Yeah.
doing their case studies. And Julie tells them, I am going to be your best friend. And she
Right.
truly is. That's the role they take on. Yeah. And I was
Well,
inspired by this because of Mark Benioff. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. It came to mind. I don't want to forget it. He's wrote a book called Trailblazers, and I had all I needed by page 17 of that book. His father was the VP of a retail store, and it was women's clothing. So he handled the whole country via phone in the 70s, 80s, I believe. But
mm,
in his local territory, he would go visit all the stores, and he'd come back at the end of the day and look at the notes and realize that pink sweaters were rolling off the shelves
mm,
in downtown, but not in the suburban areas. So
mm,
then he'd get Mark up in the evenings, dinner's ruined and over, but Mark didn't really talk about it as if it was a bad thing. They'd go pick up the sweaters from the suburbs and get them to the downtown store. So what he did for, let's again say, like a large male dominated sales leadership, and by developing Salesforce, we think time is that for women of HR.
hmm.
They are my age. This is why we're passionate about it too. They are sandwiched between raising kids and aging parents.
Hmm.
And the second ROI is time savings. You can save about 2.5 hours per payroll run. And I've seen as much as T-Sheet used to quote it, 11 hours saved per month.
Hmm.
And I believe the QuickBooks Time verified claim is 2.5 hours saved per payroll run. I mean, I can't imagine anybody who needs that time back more. And then what can they use it for in the organization? These are very smart, very educated people, and we're having them manually add up timesheets, try to
Right.
read chicken scratches.
Yeah.
So if we can free up their time, they can figure out who your most productive employees are by all this data we're going to collect, and
Yeah.
then they can use that in their hiring practice to hire to the next Jane and the next Joe.
Yeah.
So
No,
time savings is another ROI, not just the payroll.
that's awesome. I mean, I still struggle just converting, you know, 8 colon, 1 2 into decimals so that you can actually do a calculation. Because I mean, just
Yeah,
times a
yeah,
decimal. They don't
right.
teach you that.
And well, think about someone handing in a paper timesheet, like you said, with 4.2425 hours on it, and someone else would maybe write for 8.5 hours.
Yeah.
It takes time, and mistakes are going to occur.
Yeah.
And gosh, these people, the women of HR and the men too, they deserve better than what they have. And think about that too. Look at your company and ask yourself, do your other business leaders and business units have the technology they need? And why don't you have it here? But I think it's
Hmm.
because I do want to call out the big beasts, the ADPs, the Intuits. The talk is all about payroll or accounting, or other employer services.
Right.
They're the ones that have the power to really bring time tracking to bear. And I'm not sure why they haven't yet.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating topic. Well, so I want to just shift gears just a little bit and just talk
Mhm.
about solutions. Because I know you guys really specialize at Implement. You guys really specialize in QuickBooks Time, but obviously it's not the only time tracking solution out there. So, what's been y'all's experience just working with different time tracking solutions? Why do you recommend QuickBooks Time if that's the one
Mhm.
that you guys recommend?
Well, I think that I would always start out a customer with QuickBooks Time because as a QuickBooks customer, right? Of course.
Yeah.
It's the easiest path to getting implemented quickly, getting all your stuff integrated. But there are some knockouts, and they change daily, like you said. So I won't reference what they are, but there are some other really great companies. So there's a company with a product called Time Card,
Hmm.
a Time Card by Econs, and they are really, really strong in construction. We
Yep.
did a couple of case studies for their customers, and with these in this case there was the vice president of engineering for a construction firm and the vice president of a business operation that managed construction projects for tribal communities.
Hmm.
And so there were several construction firms under them, and both of these gentlemen said that they saw an over 80% reduction in the time it took to do their payroll.
Wow.
And that is directly in sync. If you ask, ChatGPT, what are some of the ROI benefits? You can ask it; it'll tell you. But 80% is about that time. So econs, they're really strong in construction. They can help with job costing and per diem. They integrate nicely into, I'll just say, some accounting packages.
Yeah.
Um, and then there is
And it's
Time
okay to
Hero.
mention other ones. It's like we know they
Yeah, yeah.
exist.
Well, okay, okay, yeah. Well, they have a really strong integration with Sage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I
That's great.
believe they've done one or two with NetSuite. And they are working to get into the Intuit marketplace, a QuickBooks marketplace. ClockShark is right now in the QuickBooks marketplace. They're really, really strong in small businesses.
Hmm.
They can do their product feeds really nicely to another third-party solution for certified payroll reporting.
Yep.
So
Yep.
anybody has that. I mean, we just welcome a phone call to help you connect the dots if you're struggling with any of that. We
Right.
can tell you, we know a lot of small businesses out there that do that reporting for people.
Yeah.
Time Arrow is really strong in healthcare. And there was a big push, and I think still is, in the healthcare space because Medicare and Medicaid fraud is
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
$16 billion industry in itself. And even the home health care aides are going to prison because of Medicare and Medicaid fraud. And it's rampant because of so many baby boomers, 75 million baby boomers entering that type of and needing that type of care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and there's a requirement that the federal government has put on home health care agencies. There's
Yeah.
about 12,000 home health agencies, over a million workers, and it's that they have electronic visit verification. There's two ways to do that: pick up, Mr. Johnson's phone and call in, or using your mobile device. And
Right.
so Time Hero is really good in the healthcare space for EVV. It requires six things: were the services performed for? These are healthcare, home healthcare aid services, or in facility. Who were they performed for? Who were they performed by? Where? GPS were they performed? You need that GPS verification. What services were performed, and what was the start time, and what was the end time? And that's the
Hmm.
requirement to do your EVV reporting if you're going to do billing by Medicare, Medicaid. So Time Arrow is really good there. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of different, and I even know a company called People Core. I can't remember their product name, but they
Yeah.
do time tracking just for the dairy industry.
Yep. And legal law firms,
Mm-hmm.
from my experience, that they're always the ones that also have very, very specific time
Yeah.
tracking needs because they've got to be able to track it by every minute or every 6 minutes or whatever the thing is, right?
Yeah. When we get
What do
asked what industries do we serve, really, it's omnipresent. Anybody
Yeah.
that's paying anyone or doing billing for jobs.
Yeah, job costing is a big one. I know when people ask us for recommendations, whether it's time tracking or payroll or anything in between, if they say they need a job cost their payroll based on time, it's like QuickBooks Time and QuickBooks Payroll is, at least again, opinions. My opinion is the best combination because you don't have to re-enter things, you don't have to export
Mm-hmm.
to Excel and do some stuff and re-import it, right? It just kind of works.
Right.
Um, but it sounds like you guys have the ability to help with many of those, or again,
Yes.
kind of still specialize in QuickBooks Time.
Our goal is serving the customer need, whatever the problem is. And we do implementation. So we want the easiest path to implementing them as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we would love to do a discovery call. That's how we handle the customer. And then we will recommend the best solution for
right.
them. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we do the implementation, or, and some of our partners do their own implementations as well, but we will stay on hand and we will help with the QuickBooks piece. And we're going to be bringing you guys in for some of that help too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so tell me, I think you've kind of coined a phrase there. I think you mentioned at the beginning, implementation as a service.
Mhm.
Which is kind of interesting, right? Because there's all this SSS software as a service, right? So tell me
Yeah.
more about like how you think about implementation as a service.
Yeah, I struggled with whether I should call it customer experience as a service, support as a service, but it is implementation as a service. And when
Mhm.
we first rolled out, we were just charging a one-time fee for that implementation. And we would give you a 90-day success coach and then
Mhm.
charge a one-time fee. And like I said, after doing 125 customers, let's say those 124, nobody asked for a refund. We had all successful implementations. And we realized too, though, that we were leaving a lot of money on the table because
Mm.
customers would ask, please don't let go of us. It's been 90 days. We write that Dear John letter and say, here's the 800 number you can call,
Yeah.
and they would beg us not to. So they started offering to pay a monthly fee if they
Mm.
could still keep their success coach. So this is one of the other things I love about what we're doing is
Yeah.
all that intel that was at T-Sheets, all those men and women who answer the phone, we are empowering them to be able to use their knowledge and the technology they gain doing something they love and come
Yeah.
work for us, bring their own customers, and then build their own businesses as managing directors. I'm not here to become some multi-million dollar CEO and have hundreds of employees doing this. We want people that know how to do implementations, that understand. Let's start with QuickBooks Time because we know they're out there with T-Sheets. Come to us, start reaching out to customers that they know could need it. And whoever brings the customer, we're charging an implementation fee upfront for that 90-day success coaching, 60 to 90s, however long they need.
Yeah.
And then if customers want it, they're paying a monthly service fee.
Right.
And it's kind of like buying insurance because the last quote we did, we provided the monthly fee and we do it based on the ROI. How much you're gonna save in depending on your employees, what you're gonna save on payroll estimated. There's also a 10% revenue increase potential. So
Mm.
that's 10, how Intuit words it is 10% more billables.
Okay.
And we
Yeah.
had an 80 employee company. And when we did their potential revenue increase, it was $1 million. And we asked them before we presented the ROIs, are you going to believe these numbers before we present them to you? And they said, absolutely. And they rattled off again. We just heard for 45 minutes all the pain points they have.
Yeah.
Then they were starting to quantify the pain points and the leakage and financially that they knew they had. So when we presented them with a proposal, something that's going to impact your business, 1.3 million is going to cost you $14,000, let's say, over a 2-year contract where we're supporting them. And
Mhm.
that monthly fee is simply buying an hour of time if you need it, right? Buying
Right.
insurance if you need it. And
Yeah.
usually, yeah, we're checking in with them anyways every month. So that's
Yeah.
how we do our invoicing is a one-time implementation fee, and then a monthly reoccurring fee after for them to keep their same success coach and allow their success coach to grow their business and manage a
Yeah.
implementation as a service business.
Well, that's great. I love what you guys do, and I again, I don't mind saying this. I was doing a webinar just actually earlier today, and one of the things that came out of that conversation was how a lot of people try to do everything themselves. They're like, I can do it, right? I can YouTube it. I can go do the research. I can chat TPT it, right? I can go figure this thing out and try to do this all myself. And what kind of came out of that conversation was, yeah, I mean, some people can, but there's a lot of lessons learned from doing hundreds of implementations, right?
Yes.
We migrate people from desktop QuickBooks to online QuickBooks, and we've learned lessons from doing that 1,000 times that you just can't learn in school. You just can't learn from YouTube. And I know just recently, I mean, you talked about a referral, like one of the ones that had reached out to us, and they were looking for QuickBooks Time implementation. And I, started having those conversations with them, and I'm like, I could help you, but this isn't my wheelhouse. This is not what I'm really an expert at. I need to get you over to someone who can do it better, faster, more efficiently, more effectively, who can not just answer some questions, but take you from beginning to end. And like you were saying, on the support side and beyond that as well.
Mhm.
And so that's why we recommended you guys, because we knew you could do it, and quite frankly, better than I could. So, or better than our team could. So I think that's when partnerships like this are just kind of like that win-win. And I love being able to say, I don't know. I'm not the best person, but I know who is.
Can
So
I comment on that? Because
yeah.
that's one of our other missions is, um, if you do want to know, we want you to shadow us. We want you to join all the calls, shadow us, see how we handle your customer. And by the fifth one, we want to certify you and let you go make the revenue off the
Hmm.
implementation as a service.
Right.
We kind of see it as like a franchise fee where you might still pay us some kind of franchise fee every month. And we'll handle the real gnarly problems and continue coaching you. But if you're a QuickBooks partner, reseller, accountant, bookkeeper, and you're looking for ways to grow your business as well, or if you're a company that's used QuickBooks Time and your accountant reseller doesn't know much about it and isn't helping you with it, let them know about us. We will do our best if they're interested and we'll either take it on for you. I'm actually aligned with another company that started doing implementation as a service for Salesforce, and now they have a couple other companies that they do it for, and he's become a really good friend and coach, and they're a $60 million business. And like I said, I don't have a desire to be the president of a $60 million business, but I do know that there's a lot of money to be made in implementation, which is that customer experience. And if
Hmm.
there are accounts booking companies like yourselves that want to do it and want to staff up for it, we want to train you how, because we know that I think there was a metric that was like 7% of small businesses use time. The greenfield is huge and the
Hmm.
ROI is there. I think this is the next big solution for small businesses.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, so as we kind of get to the end of the podcast, kind of just put our audience in the shoes of someone who is exploring a time tracking solution, and then you guys come alongside and are there to help them. Like, what's the process look like from initial call to completion? Just kind of give us the high level bullets of what how you guys engage with the customer.
The first thing we do is we're going to do a discovery call, and we're going to ask you what systems and tools you're using. Are you subject to California meal and rest break? Are your employees paid a piece rate? Are they paid an hourly rate? Are they all paid the same hourly rate? Does it fluctuate? Do you have government funded jobs? So maybe you're paying a prevailing wage on a job. Do you do commissions, bonuses, salary allocations, per diem, mileage reimbursement? So we're going to take you through all the pain points that you have with your time tracking solutions. Some
Yeah.
you might have wished were stayed in the closet.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to ask at the end of the call, I'll be on the call, Julie or Debbie, one of our success coaches is going to conduct the interview and ask. There will be no stone left unturned. And anybody involved in the process, we like on that call. But then we're going to ask about your budget. Do you have budget for it? Do you have C-level approval? Who's going to approve the budget? Because, to provide a highly technical software deployment success coach for you, who's going to be giving you their cell phone number to have their employees text them on the weekends.
Mm,
Those people are highly valuable. They do not come
right.
cheap. And we are going to base our pricing for you on the ROI. But like I said, we recently did an ROI for a customer. It was about a $1.3 million impact to their business. And our fee was $14,000 over 2 years. Every customer is different too.
Yeah.
We ask customers not to produce pricing or share it with someone else, because you could have some really complex needs or you could have some really basic needs. So every
Right.
customer is different, and we base it on how many hours we think we're going to need up front to fully train you. Your personality too. Are there two of you calling, and are we going to have to be the communication gap, right? So we do it based on the customer's characteristics and profile, our pricing. And so once we understand that, we'll provide a quote. And as soon as that a quote is approved, you'll get a calendar link and you're off to the races. And you just use that link to schedule your time as needed over the 90 days to get it set up. We've never had a customer that, needed more time and we said no to. And again, we have several customers who, when we said, okay, we're done, we did your first payroll run, that's what we're committing to. And of course, we provide PDFs and we record all the sessions. But once we say that 60 days is up, especially for QuickBooks Online, where QuickBooks Time, if they're getting it for free, we want to honor that they're getting it for free, but the customers say, but we still need service. So we will reduce our costs and still provide a monthly service fee. It's usually based on the number of employees you have.
Right.
Is the cost. And then we never have to terminate our relationship. But I would like to say we're always here for our customers too. If they need anything, we help them get on the phone with Intimate. We help them know how to frame their questions, but you're going to get a success coach for that 90 days. And then, and if for whatever reason we find out, and this has happened, that QuickBooks Time is not a good fit, we will bring in one of our other partners for time tracking. And if you're using some alternate payroll solution, we have those relationships too, to bring in integrators for those payroll providers.
Awesome. Well, hey, this has been fascinating and always an enjoyable conversation with you, Danielle. So, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you guys to help with either evaluating a time tracking solution or implementing a time tracking solution, how do they do that?
So our website is Emplomint.com. It's EMPLOMINT, and we're going to go somewhere someday. The Mint services, and it's employees. So Emplomint is how to remember it. And my email address is danielle.price@Emplomint.com. We will be at Intuit Connect next week, so look for us in the QuickBooks Time shirts. I might whip out a T-Sheets t-shirt. I'm gonna see the vibe. There are others out there.
Old school.
Yeah. But yeah, so Emplomint.com or Danielle.price@Emplomint.com.
All right, and that's Danielle with 2 L's.
DANIELLE.price, PRICE, like price tag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks, Danielle. I really appreciate you being on the show and sharing all your wisdom on this.
Thank you, Brad. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. And then for those of you that are watching, again, hope this was helpful. I know time tracking can be a challenging subject, no matter how you're doing it. And so hopefully this is a good resource for you, and also just kind of helps you think about how you're doing it now and how you could maybe do it a little bit more efficiently and save some money. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.
There is a Solution for That is produced by VARC Solutions. This episode was produced by Ashley White and Aaron Riley. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Watch the video version on youtube.com/There's a Solution for That. Or visit varcsolutions.com/podcast, where you'll find our entire podcast archive, as well as show notes, links to solution providers, and complete transcripts of every episode. If you love the podcast, please leave a review with your comments.